Oops, sorry. Move that out of your way.
So I'll do 10 seconds of silence, and then I'll start playing your intro. Starting now.
Very good.
Welcome to Blamestorming. Blamestorming. In a post-truth world, there's plenty of blame to go around. Plenty of blame to go around. Plenty of blame to go around. Plenty of
I'll start it over. It was too loud. Okay. Ready?
blame to go around. Join Dave Cyrus. Welcome to Blamestorming. Blamestorming. In a post-truth world, there's plenty of blame to go around. 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 Join Dave Cyrus and Marissa Smith as they blamestorm about today's hot topics.
Hey guys, welcome to Blamestorming. I'm Marissa Smith. As always, I've got Dave Cyrus with me. And I've got David Spector with me.
Hello. Hey, how's it going?
And I've got Jeremy Pinsley with me.
Howdy.
So, Dave, how have you been?
Good. Glad to be surrounded by Jews, everyone.
It feels
Bearded Jews. What else do you get in New York? How do you feel about this, Marissa? This is your type, right? You like Jew boys.
Who doesn't?
I mean, my first fiance was.
Right, we've talked about this. This wasn't just an assumption I made based on your glasses.
Doesn't like him too much. He's not still with him.
I don't know anything about that relationship. I'm going to assume he was the one who ended it. So, anyway, guys, David and Jeremy are both New York comedians, like literally all of our guests.
This is true.
The only difference is Jeremy. No, never mind. I take it back. You both roast battle. So I've seen you both roast battling, which means once again, that's pretty much the only people I talk to in New York.
The Rose Battlers. I haven't done it in a while.
Yeah, I know. I remember you did Daniel Parafan.
Yeah.
That was because I was on the same one I was on, and you won because they were upset with how much he was calling you racist.
Yeah, that was like his whole angle. He was like, let's just make this guy racist. And it kind of worked for a while, but then when you beat the horse too much, it's like you gotta change your strategy.
To be honest, the audience liked it. It was just the judges.
Yeah, the audience did. I remember that, yeah.
They love racism. Well, also because it's like, hey, I'm going to do a bunch of racist jokes and then be like, this is what he's thinking. I'm going to say a bunch of terrible things about black people and be like, and by the way, that's what he thinks. So I'm a hero.
That was the whole thing. It was like, you're the asshole here.
Oh, Parafan's whole thing on you was that you're racist. That's his thing on everybody. He just calls everyone racist.
Well, yeah, but he always faces white guys, and it's always true.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
Wait, you're saying I'm racist?
When Parafan's around, it's hard not to be.
Well, I mean, Parafan he looks white, but he's not. So he's well, that's when someone's not actually he's Latino, but he looks white, which is what they call sneaky.
It's also what they call the Jews. So
yeah, we earned that pretty good though. But of course, you know why Jews are called sneaky, where it comes from. It's because in biblical times, well, later biblical times, Jews were the only people who were allowed to charge usury, were allowed to charge interest.
Yeah.
Christians were not allowed to charge interest on loans. So all Christians stopped giving loans because, that was someone's great idea to be like, oh, we're going to get rid of interest and everyone will be happy because no one will lend money anymore. And people are like, well, we still need to borrow money. So the fact that we were willing to be the only people lending money made us bad human beings.
That sounds like an opportunist to me, not sneaky.
And by the way, people were so mad about Jews lending money, we didn't even have the power to collect. Like, we were living in countries where we had no governmental power, so they're mad about basically being shamed about the money you didn't give back. There's not even like a government power or like a Pinkerton to fuck you up if you don't pay back, which of course is where blood libel comes from. You know what blood libel is?
I do not.
I do.
Bad Jews. Well, okay, so David does. Blood libel is, of course, in medieval Europe. Whenever someone owed a lot of money to a Jew, instead of paying it back, sometimes they would kill a baby and then say, well, a baby's dead. Obviously the Jews did this because they were out of matzah and they had to use the baby's blood to make the matzah. So then they would go around and kill all the Jews in town. And guess what that means? Everyone who owes money to a Jew loves this idea. And here's the problem with blood libel. So that's where the idea.
There's a few. I can
there's a
think of
problem.
one, maybe two.
Yes, there is a problem.
Okay.
Because this isn't just historical. There are still places now that teach people that Jews have to eat. So right now in like Pakistan, there are schools where they still teach about the way that Jews ate babies in medieval Europe.
With a fork and a knife.
Well, it depends on when, because the fork, of course, came from Italy in medieval times. So before that, people did it with their hands. Which, by the way, was considered very effeminate. Eating with a fork.
Huh. I was just surprised to learn Pakistan has an education system.
Oh, jeez. That is way over the line. But yeah, no, when they first invented forks, people were basically like, these Italians, because they're eating pasta.
Yeah.
They obviously, and pasta came from China originally. Noodles came from China where they were using sticks, which work fine for that. And they were like, "Oh, we figured out this thing where we just put these prongs on the end of a stick." And to like the British people watching these Italians eat, they were just like, "What are you afraid of your food? You won't even touch it with your hands, you pansy." It was like the most dainty thing they could ever imagine. Like, oh, don't want to touch your food, huh?
Well, have you ever seen somebody really good at twirling pasta and they use a spoon and all that? Yeah, that is like kind of a very like beautiful, kind of effeminate gesture. Just seeing somebody do that.
Huh? I never
It's
thought
like
of that.
spinning silk or something.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I've never done that because we're Americans, we don't have time for that nonsense.
Yes, a
Exactly.
spoon. That's unnecessary.
Yeah, we have to just shovel this into our faces. I mean, who uses a spoon at dinner anyway?
Yeah,
It's
that's
always
ridiculous.
just there. You never use it.
Put it
you
on
might
your
have
nose.
soup.
But don't they have But don't you usually have different spoons? There's a soup spoon,
There's a
but then the
teaspoon.
non-soup spoon.
And then they take the spoon away. That if you're at a nice restaurant, they take the spoon away and then set out the new silverware.
Well, I've never been
It's
to a
like a
nice
table
restaurant.
Well,
spoon,
I'll take
yeah.
you out one night. It's a great experience.
I don't live that kind of life, Jeremy. Thank you.
If you think I'm doing this every night, it's not.
Yeah. So now, Jeremy, you're from the South, right?
Yeah, from Nashville.
Yeah, which is kind of the South. It's like, I mean, it is the South, but it's not exactly what people think of as redneck territory. It's Nashville. It's a very metropolitan
There's
city.
There's a lot of liberalness.
So you've done Zanies, I assume.
Yeah,
I did Zanies a few times. Great.
Oh, it's such a great room.
Yeah, like if you make fun of like, if you do jokes about like, being the first Jew they've ever seen, there's definitely like several Jews in the crowd. Like, you can't really.
Well, every time I go there, I know a lot of Jews that are there, so I can't play that card at all.
Well, I mean, there's not that there's no Jews in the South, but we're going to stick to the major cities. Anywhere we can blend into a crowd, usually something near like a port. If we need to, flee.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I loved about Nashville is like 15, 20 minutes around the city is all suburbs and there's open-mindedness. You go like an extra 10 minutes outside of that radius and you're in complete redneck territory.
That's what I liked about Austin, because everyone in Texas talks about Austin like it's the gathering of the Juggalos, like it's just the biggest hippie thing. And then you go to Austin and you're like 80% of these people wearing cowboy hats. Like this is still mostly Texas. This is like Texas with, a kid in art school.
Yeah, that's what it is. But that's what makes Austin beautiful.
But they talk about Austin like it is a collection of freaks. And it is like anyone from New York goes to Austin, it's going to take them a little while to figure out it's Austin. Or that this is considered like the liberal part of Texas.
Yeah, that's fair. It's like you still have that redneck culture permeates every aspect of it, but it's just kind of watered down with some of the more liberal-minded people. So it kind of creates an alternative scene in those cities.
Yes, watered down. Or, in another way, spiked. Could be
Spiked.
the other way around.
Yes, I like that.
David, are you from New York?
Long Island, New York, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna guess that. I don't know anything about your background. I'm just looking at the beard, the curly hair, the aggressive Judaism, and thinking Long Island.
I just want to make it clear to your listeners, I'm not Hasidic. You made me sound very Hasidic. I'm just disheveled.
Yeah, no, I get that. But the thing is, all the non-Orthodox Jews have beards now, and it's becoming harder and harder. Like, I feel like we're only a few years away from hipsters having payas.
Oh, for sure.
Payas, Marissa, is the sideburns that Orthodox Jews have.
I realize that. Dave.
Even they want money. They're called payas.
Does it make me a bad Jew that I didn't know that? I was like, yeah, pay us, totally.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're already
You're
a
from
Southern
Nashville.
Jew.
Yeah, I already.
That probably kept you alive not knowing that.
Oh, it did, 100%.
Yeah. 'Cause I live in an all-Orthodox. I'm the only non-Orthodox Jew on my block.
Really?
Yeah, I
Are
live
you in Williamsburg?
No, I'm in Midwood.
Oh shit.
I'm basically like Gravesend, so which was once the most Jewish part of New York, and now is like the fourth most. Now, like that's the amazing thing. There's more Orthodox Jews in Williamsburg, in like Bay Parkway, and like Midwood, which is like that's where Crazy Eddie hid out for decades. You remember the story of Crazy Eddie? Crazy Eddie had his prices are insane.
All right.
He used to-
Electronic stores.
Like even though it's a long time ago, it really permeated culture. Like it was in Howard the Duck. Like everyone made fun of Crazy Eddie. Crazy Eddie didn't pay his taxes and then just hid amongst the Jews for years. Because you could do that. They will hide you. We are basically the Amish.
Oh yeah. And also like the Hasidic Jews are kind of manipulating the welfare laws and the tax laws and stuff like that.
Well, number one, that is true. But number two, I would venture to say that isn't everyone on some level manipulating the welfare laws if they're receiving it? Not that they shouldn't. Not that it's, a crime or that it's malfeasant.
Yeah.
But I mean, you don't really get welfare unless you are... Okay, so you're saying you're saying they're using it like when they don't really need it?
Sort of. What they'll do is that to get around it, like they'll have religious weddings, but they won't have like a wedding at a courthouse. So when they have all their kids, they're considered like not part of a married family.
Oh, like
Yeah.
polygamists.
Yeah, exactly. And then
Well,
they'll get
that's
all this
interesting.
like welfare for their kids, where if they had like a legal marriage, they wouldn't be receiving it.
So what can we do about this Jewish problem in welfare? Is there any kind of like
Solution?
long term or
Dave, why do you hate the Jews so much?
end game? Is there some sort
Something
of
final.
Is there something that we can do to just not have to deal with it anymore? It's, yeah, they're gonna love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, not a lot of Orthodox Jews are listening to anti-Trump podcasts because they all love him. Because they are the biggest hypocrites in the history of Judaism.
Do they really? I didn't know that.
100% of
Oh,
the Jews,
man.
of the Orthodox Jews I've interacted
Yeah.
with, not only love Trump, they love him because this is what I realized. There's really two kinds of Jews. There's ones who said never again and thought that meant never again allow a tyrant to wipe out a class of people. And then the other kind of Jews who heard never again and said, no, that means never again let anyone hurt the Jews.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what all the Orthodox that I have interacted with seem to like. They just want to protect us.
Yeah.
They don't want to protect people. And which
But
sucks
would
about that
they
because the
consider
Anti-Defamation
you
League.
to be like a Jew though, because you're not
Yes and no.
Orthodox?
They don't consider us real Jews, but they still consider us more of people than other people. Like there's a sliding scale of how human you are. Like that's why they don't get out of the way when you're like walking past. Like if you're riding a bike or something, they won't like. Like they really, some of them really do have
Yeah.
a kind of it's us versus them. And yeah, like you're not, as a Reformed Jew, you're not really Jewish, but you could be. That's the thing. Any of us could start acting like Orthodox Jews and be immediately accepted into the community.
Yeah.
So that's what separates us from other people.
You still have potential.
Yeah.
I would be found out in 5 minutes. I'd be like, hey, right, guys? Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay.
Well, that's the thing. They want all of people like us, the non-religious Jews, to join them. So they're always going to have that hope. And that's the amazing thing is that they have no problem pimping out their kids. Like I've had these guys be like, "You should come to a party we're having." Like they just don't know me. They just know that I am a Jewish-looking stranger, and they're like, "You should come to And I'm basically like, I don't think you want me becoming interested in your daughters. It's just not going to work. Like they think that their kids are like, my daughter's very sexy. He'll change his whole life for a piece of her.
I've had because I've been to some Hasidic weddings, and I've always had that fantasy of meeting a girl at the other side of the wall, and then be just getting her out of that lifestyle or
Fucking
something.
her in the bathroom,
Yeah.
just ruining her, making it so their parents won't take her back, that sort of thing. That's what you're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
David? Wow, man.
Good guy.
Yeah. I mean, I I had a friend who was like normal, and then he became an Orthodox Jew,
Yeah.
but like became it like not in like the good way. Like started just immediately was just like evolution is a lie and everyone's against us, and Marvel Comics is just one big anti-Jewish conspiracy. And I'm like, it's all Jews there. Everyone there is a freaking Jew. What are you talking about? Like, well, Magneto's a villain and he has horns and he's Jewish. So why did they give him horns? And I'm just like, right, you're right. They should have ethnically cleansed all the characters and made sure that no Jew can do wrong. Because not that this, it's like, what? I was like, do I need to give you the names of the people who created these characters?
I love how big a role Marvel Comics had in his like journey into Orthodox Judaism. Like he's as mad about that as he is about Palestine.
Yeah, no, I mean it was really sad because he was like one of these like guys who got really into Bill Hicks. But then his life was horrible, and he was like, well, I guess I'm not as better than everyone else as I thought I was. Gotta find a new way to convince myself I'm superior.
Is it because Magneto can take all your Jew gold? He's the only one.
That's true.
Yeah.
Grab it.
But then, of course, some writer, probably Jewish, did change Magneto at one point from a Jew to a gypsy. Because someone probably complained that the villain was
Taking
Jewish.
all the precious metal.
And they're like, well, they kill gypsies too. Can you make it one of those? Yeah, fine. Also, make sure we put that pronounced Jewish star on Kitty Pryde anytime she's drawn. For a while, she always had a Jewish star on her neck. And I was like, oh man, Marvel Comics in the 80s is becoming oppressively Jew-run.
Is that why Magneto just started panhandling so much when he became Gypsy?
Yeah, well, he started to steal.
Yeah.
Right?
He had an accordion with him in all his battles.
Wow. Yeah, he had a grind. Had a little monkey. Is that? That's more an Italian thing, I guess. But
Yeah, the grinder.
You
Yeah.
can't even say gypsy anymore. That's like offensive.
not to them.
No,
don't
like
they still
I've
call
definitely
themselves gypsies?
You can't say it. Like I've had.
But they still use it
Roma,
for
right?
themselves, right?
It's a you have
Yeah.
to use Roma now, like because like gypsies like the N word now.
Well, I thought that Roma is simply the largest gypsy population, but not all gypsies are Romanian.
No, they're not necessarily all Romanian, but you're supposed to be using Roma to describe them now because like gypsy is considered like an ethnic slur now.
So you're supposed to say Roma steel.
You know, I mean, I'm sure that they don't necessarily. I guess it would be like Roma, like reappropriate property. I don't know. Like,
Well, the bit only works.
There you go. That
there you
was
go.
perfect.
There you go.
The bit only works if we're not all racist at once. It really has to be a counterpoint here.
But
Well, could you
America needs to
imagine-
come together.
Can you imagine like a Gypsy Chris Rock? Like there's a war going on between Gypsy and Roma.
I hate gypsies, but I love Roma.
I love it.
You know who wrote that bit?
Who?
You guys haven't heard this?
No, I always hoped it was Chris Rock.
Yeah.
Well, Chris had writers. I mean, he wrote a lot of good stuff. I don't know this for sure, but I've heard through comedians that that bit that everyone loved, the N-words and black people bit that everyone's famous for Chris Rock, that it was written by a white comic who knew he couldn't do it.
Oh.
And he's also a white comic. According to the rumor I've heard, multiple people like to make his employees watch him jerk off. Yeah, it's Louis. It was Louis.
No.
Yeah, I have heard
I needed one more hint. I
specifically.
needed one more hint after that one.
He's a Jew.
It's like now
Mexican
like-
Jew. Does that do it?
What do y'all think about his situation?
We don't like to talk about current events here.
Let's go back to Marvel and the Jews.
Well, Louis. Yeah, so Louis back. Louis is doing comedy again, and a lot of people are surprised. Specifically, the same people who were shocked when in '94 Superman came back to life after dying in the comics, and they were like, "What? I thought he was dead." Like, did you really think he wasn't going to go back to? Now, there's two schools of thought here that I have. One, what does this say? Is this a reflection on other people being Me Too'd? Obviously, the worse thing you did, the more you should be punished. And it's not. And Louis's case, Louis was doing things that I think a lot of people agree were wrong, but he wasn't doing like jail time wrong or getting sued for everything you have wrong. Which those like there's jail time, there's getting sued, and there's losing your career. Those like the three levels of like how bad you can do something, right? And the argument that I kind of heard that I thought made sense was that like Louis was the biggest comedian alive, right? Basically. If he, like, his only job, he has kids, he's going to figure out a way of making a living. He's going to try to. And obviously I get why people are upset, because he should pay. He created hostile work environments. He took advantage of people. He did things with women he worked with that he should have done with hookers like a gentleman. But here's my question. Is doing stand-up live, and that's it, is that the punishment? If he had to go from being a megastar, doing theaters, being on TV, doing movies, to just doing actual brick and mortar shows, is that kind of, I mean, I do think it's too soon, but I'm saying, is that kind of the punishment we thought this was going to end with?
I think all forms of stand-up comedy are a punishment. So,
Nice.
I mean,
The other comics.
We're all
People who
the
are comics
suffering
are
of
like,
hell.
what is he talking about? That seems so much fun.
Yeah.
We're all doing penance for something.
I mean, it's that's kind of like what happened to TJ Miller. Like, now he just does bar shows.
He also
like,
just did the Emoji Movie, so he's sitting on all this money.
Yeah.
that he got.
Classic, by the way.
He got a terrible. He basically, I mean, T.J. Miller got outed for something that was already common knowledge with a lot of comics. I'd heard this since he was first famous, that he punched a woman in college. Because that was something that people knew in the college. Now, the thing with that is,
The beer bottle thing is the thing that I thought was the...
what beer bottle thing?
That was part of, like, the whole thing, is that he also, like, he not only, like, punched his ex-girlfriend, but allegedly he, like, jammed a beer bottle in her hoo-ha.
That was Fatty Arbuckle. You're thinking of Fatty Arbuckle.
No, TJ Miller did too. He arbuckled her.
Funny thing about Fatty Arbuckle, thinner than T.J. Miller. Not kidding. Not joking. Fatty Arbuckle was only Fatty Arbuckle by comparison to the times. Today, he would be regular-sized Arbuckle.
Same with like Elvis. His like meltdown of gaining all that weight, he would be standard now.
If Jim Belushi right now looked like Elvis the day before he died, everyone would be saying, "Wow, look at Jim Belushi! Look who pulled himself out of the gutter!" So yeah, I mean, what? Yeah, and that's what. Yeah, so like, but yeah, so TJ managed to get outed right after doing a movie that should have ended his career anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
Yeah.
a perfect storm for him to get out on. But he was still in Deadpool 2, which probably was already filmed.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was filmed before like this even happened. It's I can't condemn people for not throwing away movies because a minor character later did something wrong. Like, I feel bad for anyone who was in a movie with Kevin Spacey. Like, I feel bad because you didn't know he did something wrong. But what Kevin did was, of course, objectively worse
Oh yeah.
than, the other people. So there is a different scale. People just, it's hard to look at Kevin Spacey. But at the same time, are we going to say that you can't watch any movie he was ever in? That would be a little much, wouldn't it? I mean, we
Yeah.
can't enjoy
I don't
monsters.
know. I don't watch any. I'm like losing his name. Woody Allen. I don't watch anything Woody Allen at all.
Is that because of the accusation, though, or would you?
You're married to your daughter. Like, that's disgusting.
She wasn't his daughter.
We go through this every time.
Yeah, because you keep accepting that it's true and then repeating it the next time we talk about it. He
You
never.
keep denying that it's true.
How is she his daughter?
Like, adoptive daughter, or was raised as a daughter. Like,
Of who?
Of Woody Allen.
But she wasn't raised in the same house as him. He never adopted her.
You ever see the picture of them at the Knicks game together?
I've seen them at the Knicks. I used to go to Knicks games. I would see them there all the time. Yeah.
No, there's
I'm not saying it's not creepy. I'm just saying when you say it was his daughter,
Well-
you're deciding to say something that isn't what the actual accusation is.
Well, look this up later. There's a picture of him and his before they were married wife at a Knicks game. She's sitting on his lap. She's maybe 8 years old. So the idea that he wasn't a father figure to her.
Yeah,
no, he
exactly.
was her mother's boyfriend. Yeah.
But,
Okay.
like, still was a father figure to her.
No. Yes. Figure.
But it's
still-
different.
He
like,
was
but
not her
still-
father.
I mean, not biological.
What about-
but if this is the only person you refer to as your dad, that's your dad.
Do we know that she called him dad?
She called him daddy. It's a
No, daddy,
Thank
like
you.
Ivanka.
Daddy.
I love you, Daddy.
Thank you.
big difference.
No, look, it's still creepy and horrible.
And there's the
And
Dylan
here's-
thing too, which is much worse.
Yeah, and that's the,
Oh, of course.
the
that
other thing.
That look, he either did that or he didn't. And if he did it, he should have spent the rest of his life in jail.
Yeah.
And if he didn't, He shouldn't. The problem is that's a situation that is very difficult to really decide what's true because one of the children said he was there the whole day. There's no possible way it happened. Another child says they believe her story. The biggest problem, though, is that an adult woman who says she was sexually assaulted is almost certainly telling the truth.
Yeah.
There's a small percentage that wouldn't be telling the truth, but the vast majority of all sexual assault accusations are true. Adult women don't have problems with implanted memories. Children do. The satanic panic of the 80s showed us that it's very easy to get a small child to actually believe they were molested with the right kind of coaching. And a judge threw out that case because he said he found evidence of that coaching. That doesn't mean that Woody Allen's innocent.
Yeah.
I would say, if I had to guess, I would say he probably did it. Simply because anyone who's accused of a sexual crime, more likely than not, that case is probably true because the vast majority are true. But that case is really ambiguous. And when you have multiple conflictions there, I'm not comfortable saying this is someone I know did this. I don't have an adult saying I saw something or it happened to me. So I think he may very well have done it, probably did it, but it's nowhere near enough for me to say I'm going to condemn this person. Now, at the same time, I don't know if you've seen his last 16 movies.
Yeah, it's like they're so.
It's kind of a moot point anyway.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a good movie since Sweet and Lowdown.
That was his best movie.
Jesus Christ, that was a good movie.
Yeah.
It's so infuriatingly good. And then before that was Deconstructing Harry. Was also ridiculously good.
Great
But I
movie.
mean, good God, the man puts out a lot of crap.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's difficult, and I think that it's weird to expect anyone to decide 100% when it's that much of something you can't know.
I love how we started with all these fake Jewish stereotypes through history and then just transitioned into every bad thing a Jew has done in our society.
It's funny you say that because I was just going to say that's pretty much all of it. We've pretty much gone through everything negative we can be attributed to.
We didn't talk about Harvey Weinstein.
I wanted to make one more comment. on
He's no
Louis.
true Jew. I'm going to use that one now.
Oh, I like that. That's
Yeah.
good. I just wanted to add on Louis because Aparna Non Charla wrote a really good article and shared some good stuff, and it was like, yeah, no, I believed he definitely deserved a comeback time, but I felt like he rushed it, and then he did
Yeah.
a joke about a rape whistle. It's kind of like when you tell a kid he has to go to timeout, and the idea is when you're in timeout, you analyze yourself, you realize you made a mistake, and you come back and you show us that you learned something. And this guy goes in hiding, comes back, and then
Does a rape joke.
Does a rape joke. And
It
it's
was
like,
too
dude,
soon. It was too soon. There was no.
Yeah.
I'm not denying at all. It was too soon. But
Me
it's
too
also
soon.
disappointing. Yes, me too soon.
Yeah.
Great job, David.
hashtag it. Hashtag it.
That's why you're the darling of the Fight Club. The Fight Club scene. It was definitely too soon, but it was also especially disappointing that he did stand up without addressing it.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I'm the only person who thinks he should. I think he should address it, not during his act. Because if you analyze that, to me at least, he's accused of sexual sexual assault.
Harassment.
Harassment.
He's not accused of assault. He's accused of harassment, sure.
So then he goes up and then gets laughs and possibly applause over the harassment he committed. That to me is really I know Nanette set the standard of comedy being talking seriously about rape and nothing else, but that's not what he's going to do. He's going to tell jokes.
You don't go and talk about the rape. You talk about what you learned, and you find a way to make that funny, and then you enlighten people that were following you, and you now show people that you're going to use your power for good. It's all about showing that you change. So,
Yeah, that's like the prior model. Like when he came back after he was set on fire from freebasing, then he kind of told a story about what happened. It was very funny.
Yeah.
But he addressed the idea of what had happened.
Of
and,
course,
you know.
let's not forget the fact that that was a lie, though. Richard Pryor lied when he said he set himself on fire freebasing. He years later acknowledged he tried to kill himself. And he said it was freebase. But he said, no, I tried to kill myself because I couldn't stop doing cocaine. So that wasn't at the time, it was a brilliant thing he was doing. But in retrospect, it was him just putting up an act to try to salvage his career. At the same time, he didn't hurt anyone else. So I don't think he needed to have the apology that Louis does.
Well, Pryor beat his wife, and he talked about that in his act. So
Yeah, I forgot about that. I haven't seen all of Pryor's specials, to be honest.
it's hard
I
to.
think I've
I
only
mean,
seen Live at the Sunset, to be honest.
Yeah, I saw live.
Yeah.
I saw that. And that's the one with the milk and cookies.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and apparently the night before that special, he like bombed terribly.
Yeah.
and like came
Yeah.
back, and then like I mean, you hit a low and then you hit your high, so it's kind of.
It's sort of a dirty secret in comedy how like he's by far the most universally respected comic, and I know so many comics who can't sit through his act. And there are a lot of comics who will threaten to fucking kill you if you tell them you can't watch a Richard Pryor special.
Yeah, you're not a comic anymore.
I know of one person who actually said like just had a screaming fit at someone. This was an older comic, just like a screaming tantrum over someone saying respectfully, I just never really get into it.
But the generation before.
And by the way, if you want to guess who that comic is, I promise you'll figure it out within like 3 guesses. Go on.
Well, the generation before that is Lenny Bruce, right? Like, I don't think I could listen to Lenny Bruce.
Yeah,
Oh, it's impossible to laugh at Lenny Bruce.
Yeah.
It is. I defy you to laugh at a Lenny Bruce special now. I mean, he was dealing with so much repression that like there was so much tension in the air that it was so easy to break it and make a joke out of something. They weren't puzzle jokes. They were just like, there's all this tension. I'm just going to say the things I'm not supposed to say, and you're all going to be like fluttered. Everyone's going to get the vapors and can't believe I'm willing to use that word in a nightclub.
Yeah, and it's like a lot of comics like, I don't like his stuff, but he opened doors for us, so that's kind of like,
Which is fine. I mean, he
yeah,
did.
Yeah.
and
I don't like Larry Flint's stuff either, but I appreciate what he did for freedom of speech.
Yeah.
I happen to think Hustler is the grossest porno magazine in the history of the world.
oh god, I saw it as a kid. It changed. I was like, what the? It was
What's
so
the
graphic.
difference between like Hustler and Playboy?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, let's get into this. So you've never actually seen like a real hustler.
No.
And we were all children at the birth of the internet. So like, sometimes you ended up with a magazine, I'm sure when you were a little kid, if it was harder to find it that way. Little boys really go out of their way to find porno. Every little boy in the 80s has a story about finding like a water damaged penthouse in the woods.
Yeah.
Like that is so much weirdly more common than people understand.
And weirdly, they come in a collection too. Like it's like you found one, like 7 of them.
Yeah,
So
someone like dumped their porno in the woods, knowing some kids would find it, and you would save their lives. So Playboy was, first of all, there was all the airbrushing. They didn't even look like people.
Yeah.
Like everyone looked like plastic. But even that was still, but it was still like respectable. It was like
it was a tasteful.
women were not like shoving things into themselves or just they weren't like positioning themselves like a real sex position. It was more like a halfway, because Playboy was always like trying to hold on to that almost Victorian idea of like what a woman should act like, but she's naked.
Celebrating a beautiful woman.
Yeah.
Well, then it was like for intellectuals. It was that's how Hefner kind of marketed it. It's like it's jacking off for smart guys.
Yeah, and people would say I read it for the articles.
Jacking off with
Was that his
Smarties.
tagline?
Well, because people would say I read it for the articles, but in reality, Playboy actually did have like some of
Yeah.
the best writers of the time in magazines. They had like a lot of very famous literature was first published in Playboy, which is such a funny thing to remember. So Hustler, on the other hand, Hustler was about getting girls who would have not even been allowed to audition for Playboy, girls who would not have gotten through the door, just straight up spreading their vaginas for an extreme close up, like just close ups of assholes, pictures of a woman like bent over with then a guy with like a like a Groucho Marx nose and mustache glasses pointing at it like, hey, look at this. They would have parody cartoons, like, remember how Mad Magazine had Spy versus Spy? They would have cartoons just like that, only instead of Spy versus Spy, it's Jew versus Jew, and the giant noses were the noses of the Jews, and that was like a funny thing that would be in Hustler. Hustler was...
Oh, was that a real thing in Hustler?
Yes.
Oh, you weren't supposed to jack off to that part?
Well, I tried.
I did.
Hustler was...
Those noses were sexy.
Hustler was the gross mechanics version of Playboy. It was Playboy for people who would read. It was Playboy for people who open a Playboy and just be like, "Excuse me, I didn't go to Yale. I'm just trying to get my dick hard."
So it's like
A lot of hard
the
dicks in it
Playboy
too.
for like Trump voters.
Yeah, it was.
It's like it's not for the guy who's out to the strip club the one time a year with his friends as like some sort of bachelor party. It's for the guy who eats wings at the buffet of the strip club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
With no
exactly.
sneeze guard.
Yeah. Hustler was like the magazine if
So where does Penthouse fall into that?
in between.
Yeah.
Penthouse is literally exactly in between those. Because Penthouse wouldn't have like the extremely over the top like racism and like gross jokes, but because I mean like Hustler was like the guy who listens to Howard Stern but doesn't likes everything about Howard Stern except the jokes. Like
belittle those women a little more, Howard.
Yeah,
Come
yeah.
on.
A guy who hates the interviews and the bits. He just wants to hear abuse, hear retarded people talk, and just hear just blanket racism.
Hot
Like,
dogs at her tits. Throw hot dogs at
Yeah,
her tits.
exactly. The kind of guy who listened to Opie and Anthony and was bitterly on Anthony's side of everything.
Yeah.
And thought Opie was the pussy ruining all the fun. The kind of guy who listens to Compound Media with Anthony Cumia now and says, "This is what I was waiting for that show to become."
It's Anthony Cumia. It's just what he reads.
Except Anthony Cumia is, I would say, on the much smarter end of the Hustler. Anthony Cumia, to me, even though he's definitely not this guy, he reminds me of like Tool fans. Because like there's an old joke about how like everyone who listened to the band Tool was either really smart or really stupid.
Yeah.
He's on the smart side of that. He's like the smart side of like the Led Zeppelin fan who doesn't want to know anything but knows a lot of trivia. And he's on that end, but like then becomes a gigantic asshole who just wants to drink and rant about how black people are savages.
Jesus.
You know, I've been on Opie and Anthony, which is like really frustrating because that was before like he emerged as that guy.
Yeah.
Where like Opie was more in charge and Anthony was kind of like, I just want to entertain people, and then he just became this just racist drunk.
Well, it's kind of like in his downfall, what he got fired for, he kind of discovered this audience who was going to support him through that, and then now that's how he butters his bread, is with that stuff.
Well, yeah, it was kind of. I mean, that's what a lot of people do. They say, well, look, if we're not going to get these people, we can take advantage of all the people who are on the complete other side of it.
Yeah.
Which actually brings up a story I wanted to talk about today, the Florida governor race. So you know about now. There's two major race aspects of the story. There's the questionable racism. And there's the ridiculous over-the-top racism. The two sides of that are, of course, Gillum, who is a very progressive African-American candidate, and then there's DeSantis, who is a Trump-loving, super hardcore right-wing conservative, which I do believe is going to become an endangered species very soon. I think the Republican Party is going to be like the Federalists. They're going to fucking stop existing.
Oh,
after this whole thing
no.
craters.
No, they're going to outlive us all.
They're going to crater.
No.
Lindsey Graham will survive, but all the people who were the Trump wing of the party are going to die.
No, they're going to completely take over. The Republican Party dies every single election. Oh, that's it for them. And they always come roaring back with
like
something
this.
worse.
But they were able to throw Bush under the bus. But don't forget, all the people who were the hardcore Bush Republicans, they weren't the ones who stayed. It then became Tea Party bullshit.
Yeah.
The neocons did go. I'm saying there might be a Republican Party, but also what they did before was nowhere near the amount of treason we're talking about now. I think the Jim
McCain Republicans are going to die. Like
No.
those,
Whoa,
I
think that is
exact
the party.
opposite.
That's like the
Like-
I think
I
Mitt
think
Romney
those-
is going to become the new leader of the party when this is all over.
No, that's just a liberal wet dream. It's never going to happen.
No, the liberal wet dream is that they get completely decimated and the Democrats become the middle party, and then an emerging party comes on the left of that. But
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that would be
I think
what I would
more than
prefer.
two parties.
I
Yeah.
think that this ends with. I think people are a little too pessimistic about the real world coming back. I think a lot of people are worried that the real world is going to reassert itself, and I think it is. I don't think this is forever now.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the reason Trump. I mean, don't people act like. Yeah, him versus Hillary was weird as fuck, but he also beat like 16 Republicans on his way up there. And that's because nobody fucking likes those guys.
Well,
he
it's
was
because-
speaking to the people who were there.
It was because the Republican Party sought out the unhinged, mentally ill, hateful aspect of the country and never expected that they would have a tipping point where they took over. They thought that they were going to be the useful idiots who they could just keep in tow, and then suddenly Trump grew out of that swamp.
I agree with that, but I also think that the mainstream Republican, like, their policies are not popular. No one was ever voting for them on
That's
their...
why it's a culture war.
Yeah, it's always been culture war. And, like, the Trump people have always been a bigger aspect of it. I also think that the supposedly respectable Republicans, probably if you get them behind... And Democrats too, I'm sure, but get them behind closed doors will sound a lot more like Trump. And then the rich people who may not, well, they get their tax cut. So it's a vibrant, it's a strong coalition.
I think that's a coalition that could have survived forever if Trump had not blown it up. I think Trump is ruining it for his own ego, and they all recognize that, and they're all just holding on. They're white-knuckling this presidency, hoping that there's a light, and the light at the end of the rainbow is going to be when they are like, okay, how can we salvage our careers while condemning Trump after it really craters? It's going to crater.
They seem to rather just not run again than actually try to like salvage their careers by opposing him, because like all of these like mainstream Republicans that kind of rode the wave like to Trumpville, they're all just like, something, I'm not going to run again.
That's an all or nothing. That's because it's an all or nothing statistic of whether or not Trump's endorsement helps you or hurts you. As time goes on, as the situation gets worse, it is going to hurt them, and the second that happens, it's not going to be subtle.
Oh,
it's
that
be
day is
all at once.
always around the corner. It's always going to happen tomorrow.
The investigation isn't done yet. And we have not seen any of the evidence behind it. He's already at like 40-60 in terms of people's approval, and
which
that's
is normal for a president at this point.
It's a little low.
We haven't heard the other side of the story.
That's what Obama had at this point.
60. He never had disapprovals this high. He has the approvals are only a little bit lower than a typical president. The disapprovals are off the charts. And this approval he's getting is because of Republicans who are just pretending they don't see what's going on. It's not like he's getting the independents. It's just about the base.
Yeah, no, the base is with him. The entire Republican Party.
These people are gonna go back to their basements. This is just about the lowest half asserting itself and thinking they can reverse the concept of intelligence. But the thing is, everything they're doing in terms of taking advantage of those people and trying to have a fake culture war, it could have worked if Trump didn't ruin it. Like I said this previously, one of the favorite jokes I ever wrote on SNL was Ted Cruz saying in a rebuke of Trump, "The Republican Party does not say racist things. We imply them over decades of careful dog whistles. You don't just say it out loud. He's blowing up our spot." That
joke really does hit at it where the calculus for so long was that the Democrats had to shift right because people were voting Republican on their policies. They weren't. It was the dog whistle party.
Yeah. Now, speaking of dog whistles, back to what we were saying, it actually goes directly to it.
Yeah.
There's the two sides of the racism of this governor's race.
Yes.
First, there was the fact that DeSantis said, "Let's not monkey around." Now,
monkey this up.
Excuse me. Thank you. Let's not monkey this up. Now, on one hand, this is a Trump guy.
Yeah.
So it is very reasonable to accuse him of dog whistling because that's what Trump does. Trump talks out of both sides of his mouth. He says things that everyone knows what he means, but he says them vague enough so that he can call you crazy when you say what obviously they meant.
Sometimes he's very direct. Like the judge who I hear is a Mexican. Everyone boos. I mean, there's nothing underneath that. Right.
But dog whistling in terms of saying things that you could say are vague threats.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, I was just saying my opinion." It's so there's nothing wrong with saying that DeSantis he's certainly not above. He is a Trump guy.
Yeah.
That being said, I also heard people say it's definitely racist because I've never heard that term before. I've heard monkey this up.
Yeah.
I have heard monkey this up.
I've never heard monkey this up. I've heard monkeying around, but I've never heard monkey this up.
I've definitely heard monkey this up. It's not the most common thing, but it's something I've heard. I'm not saying he didn't use it to be racist. I'm guessing that he probably thought, I can maybe get a few racists to
chuckle
vote that
at
wouldn't have. But it's not like it's crazy to think that that's something you do for votes. Because, of course, the other thing, because that's, I guess, before we get into that, like, are we certain this was racism? I'm going to say same with Woody Allen. I'm like, it's probably that, but I can't be sure. I can't be 100% sure, but I would acquiesce and say I think it is.
I feel like if I was ever in some sort of public contest with someone of a different race, I would try to do my best to avoid all racist connotations unless I was trying to be racist. You know what I mean? Like, how often is this something he says all the time? Let's not monkey this up. He made like a very specific public comment after
Hard
the guy
to
got
imagine.
the.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, at
Hey, white guys, let's stop monkeying. It's like, what? Why
Yeah.
are you
best
bringing that
case scenario is that this was an unbelievably, stupid thing to not notice you shouldn't have said. But that's not the first time a white politician has said something offensive to black people and then kind of done well, technically what I said was not offensive. We saw that with the use of the word tar baby. Because the term tar baby has two completely separate connotations. One, it means a sticky situation that anyone who tries to get themselves involved with gets dirty.
Yeah.
And the other is just a flat out racist term.
Well, that is a problem with the language we have in America. Is a lot of our like idioms and expressions actually have a racist origin point.
Or vice versa.
Yeah. Things start off not racist and become racist.
Yeah, they get appropriated by racists. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so tar baby was an example of that. Something that, yes, you're right. It is not a specifically racist term, but also, how the fuck did you not know that would be a problem if you're talking about something that is in any way related to black people and use the term, that's a tar baby? Like,
What
are
are
you
you talking
goddamn
about?
kidding? Like, that's so hard to believe that you didn't. Like, it sounds like you were like, watch what I'm going to get away with saying in front of these people right now. And another example of that,
It's like a meow moment where it's like, hey, I bet you can't say this in your speech. And it's like, I'll do it,
Are
Yeah.
you familiar with a Nordic term spelled Niggardly?
Oh, that's a word in the English language. It has
Yes,
nothing.
has
nothing.
absolutely no
Yeah.
root related to the term Negro or anything.
It means you're cheap, like you hoard. You're selfish with something, right?
Yes, it means being cheap.
Yes.
And
I will say niggardly since you guys can't.
I want to say it so bad. So bad I want to say it.
there's nothing wrong with saying it. It's not a racist term. But how does a New York politician not know what's going to happen when he says that into a microphone?
What'd you say it means? What's the meaning of the word?
It means cheap.
Yeah.
Cheap. So Jews are very niggardly.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes. And no, making it about Jews does not make that okay, Jeremy.
Okay. All right, now it's double racist.
We're going to isolate
I got
that.
it.
It's going to ruin your career.
Whatever. What are you
I
gonna
once in conversation asked a friend, "Can I say this?" And his response, he goes, legally." And I
Now, so the reason I bring all that up is because, that was a case where we're like, I think it's a racist thing. Maybe he made a ridiculous mistake, but at the same time, we know about the robocalls. Are you familiar with the robocalls?
Yes, yeah.
For
That
Gillum.
was intense.
Gillum received, and by the way, can we bring up the actual transcript of the call? Can we get that?
Which
it's on the article that we had there.
Yeah, but I don't think I can open it.
Okay,
right
I'll
now.
bring it
I
up.
can-
This is something that I think is coming. I'm sure it happened a lot in the past, but even when Obama
I
was
can't
running
open
for
it.
president, I didn't hear of anything that hardcore.
Well, I mean, before Obama was running for president, John McCain got robocalls,
Yeah.
or got literature in Alabama
Yeah.
about having an illegitimate black son.
Yeah.
And they were and what it was a complete fabrication that was simply referring to the fact that he had an adopted, what was it? South Asian
South
child.
Asian
Yeah.
daughter, yeah.
So-
And it was a push poll that Karl Rove engineered, where people would get a call and be like, "Would you support John McCain less if you found out he had an illegitimate black child?" Which is just like a way to manipulate people. Of he's saying it, but he's not actually saying it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like a specifically amazing thing.
But even that is not as bad as the robocalls.
No,
being sent
you're
out
right.
now.
No, you're right. This
Yeah.
robocall was fucking crazy. So I want to bring up the transcript of this because it was, and we don't have the audio of it. So I'm going. The problem is, I'm not comfortable even reading this
Give it an accent. It won't be you.
accurately because do you know what the accent was they did it with?
Oh, my
it's a white man putting on like a 1930s
Yes,
minstrel
100%.
voice.
Yeah.
Like a hello, like
Yeah.
like that hasn't even a real black person hasn't sounded like that in 100 years.
He was in blackface making the recordings. just to,
Yeah,
like make it
but I mean,
more
of course,
real.
we saw the same thing with Roy Jones. Not Roy Jones.
Moore.
Roy Moore. Thank you. With Roy Jones, terrible person too. But Roy Moore had robocalls of someone putting on a fake Jew voice and saying, "Hello, this is Murray I forgot the name. This is Murray Finkelsteinowitz. If you I'm just calling to say that if you want to tell a lie about the great Roy Moore molesting you, I'll give you lots of money." I'm not even like that's basically what happened.
Oh, that was fake. I wanted the money. They strung me along for months.
Yeah, it was. So, all right, the 70-second pre-recorded message is narrated by a man, what they describe as a caricature of a black dialect with, I didn't know this part, cartoonish jungle noises in the background.
And the actor who did this, Tom Hanks. Poor move, in my opinion.
Now,
Career was going so well.
I'm going to go ahead and assume it's a white man who made the recording. However, if it was a black man that they hired, I would love to hear them trying to find the guy willing to do this. Like have it like you have like open call for like voiceover auditions, and they're like, so
It's Kanye West.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure Kanye absolutely loves this because he, I don't know if you know this, hates black people. I'm pretty sure Kanye has decided that at some point it's like a psychic said to him, you're going to have a choice between black people and your mental illness, and he said, "Black who?"
I've got dragon energy.
Let's see. It's unfortunate. It seems like no one wants to just post the actual transcript of
I thought it was
ridiculously racist
Was it in that
robocall.
article?
I think it was in the article, but I can't open it because I'm in airplane.
Going off of airplane mode.
Well,
Oh,
I'm
no.
no, I'm in airplane mode. We have Wi-Fi, so
Oh, I'm not on
stay
Wi-Fi.
stay in airplane. Don't monkey this up, Jeremy. Don't. But yeah, why don't you guys just talk for a second?
Well, do you want to just take a break and we can come back on this?
We can
Fine.
talk. Who
Yeah.
wants to talk U.S. Open tennis? Anyone
Well,
into that?
I just have one more thought on
Yes,
Louis.
she should be allowed to wear whatever she wants. You piece of shit. Sexism and racism, by the way, is what's going on in tennis right now. Did you?
What was the racism?
They told her that her catsuit was inappropriate. They told Serena that she couldn't wear her. That she had to change her. She had to wear a tutu because they said just wearing like a leotard was
But like
inappropriate.
in previous like French Opens, women have worn leotards before, but there were white women that wore them, and that was fine.
Oh, really? I didn't
Yeah.
realize that was the tie to that.
Yeah, so I think it was like the 80s. There was like a white French player that wore a white cat suit, and that was fine. But then when Serena tried to do it, then they said it wasn't fine. But she also wants to wear it partially for medical reasons because it's a compression suit, and I think she's got some sort of disorder where she's experiencing blood clots.
Yeah,
And
seriously.
so yeah.
At this
So-
point, Serena Williams gets to do whatever Serena Williams wants. If she
Yeah.
wants to go out there and play naked, it's like you're Serena Williams.
Yeah.
You deserve whatever you want.
But yeah, no, definitely.
And then there was that other girl who they gave her like a warning for like changing. Like,
Yeah, she took her top off and she just had her sports bra on. But that was the U.S. Open to a French tennis player, and so people were saying that they thought that was sexist. But I thought that was more like the U.S. Open being like, oh, the French want to fuck with our girl, we're gonna fuck with your girl. Like I looked at that as being more nationalistic than
Yeah,
sexist.
I just thought it was a lapse in judgment. more
Well, in
than,
France,
like,
they all play with their tops off, right? I mean, it's a more liberal European.
I don't know. It's just titties flopping everywhere.
All right,
based on the armpits.
By the way,
Yeah,
real
that's
quick,
what the women-
basically every news article was like, "We are not going to dignify this by publishing it." Yeah, so
Yeah.
let's not know like what they did wrong. That's great. Let's protect them.
But I
But
think
it
that
means-
is also at the Gillum's request. He was like, "Please don't emphasize this," which I get.
yeah. Well, the only this article, all it says is the first sentence, which, wow, starts with "Well, hello there," in writing. I think we know what that sounded like. I think I said it earlier. He's like, so the guy literally opens with the "Well, hello there," like they're putting on like who even remembers this voice?
Well,
and
not
then
their children. Like,
and then comma, I is Andrew Gillum. It starts hello there. I is Andrew Gillum, and you can hear the sounds of monkeys in the background.
Not only, I mean, that's incredibly racist, but it feels also like very old-fashioned. Like, are modern racists still throwing that stuff around?
I mean, I guess.
I think if you're like making a phone call, it's like a fun character to play. You know, like it's either that or the yo, what's up? But like that's a little less.
Well,
you
there's
know.
there's three different generations of racist black voice that almost
Yeah.
never really existed. There's that one they started with, the like the literal slavery times, like hello there, like the like so, and then there's
That,
the
like,
one.
master kind of voice.
Yeah, and then there's the one that comes after that I hear 50-year-old white guys say, which is the 70s
Like
black
Jive
guy
Turkey
that
kind
does
of
not
thing.
exist
Yeah.
at all either. And then finally, the 90s is the newest one.
Yeah.
The 90s
Hip-hop
caricature
voice, yeah.
of the hip hop voice.
Yeah.
Guys trying to sound like NWA.
It's just like a little jarring for me because like now, or at least maybe until Trump became president, all the cases of racism you'd hear popular would be things like Serena Williams can't wear her cat suit. And then now it's like this full-blown racist character. Not that there was not worse racism
Right.
occurring at all, but you know, it was just like these kinds of images and characters have not even been like in popular culture at all for how long?
Yeah.
Good cartoons, though.
But let's take a break.
Sure.
Yeah,
And
Jesus Christ.
we'll be back. Do you want to kick it off?
Like, that's just
Okay.
bullshit for me.
The caramel part of the podcast.
Oh, it's not on mic.
I can hear. It's going to be coming from the recording. Don't you?
Oh, I didn't think we started yet.
Just swallowed it whole.
That's my white noise machine. Is you crunching ice? It's like,
Welcome to Blamestorming. Blamestorming. In a post-truth world, there's plenty of blame to go around. 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 Join Dave Cyrus and Marissa Smith as they blamestorm about today's hot topics.
Hey guys, this is Blamestorming. I'm Dave Cyrus. With me is Marissa Smith.
Hello, guys.
And our guests today are David Spector
Hey.
and Jeremy Pinsley.
yo.
And everyone, of course, before you have to ask, yes, all Jews. So we were just talking about racism in the Florida governor's race, if you're just joining us, which, of course, everyone is because the show just started. I'm a little upset that no one in the news media is willing to publish the actual racist robocall that went out against Mayor Gillum.
But I think that was at the request of Gillum, though. Like, he doesn't want this getting thrown around.
But aren't we sort of, here's the thing, if we're going to say, hey, everyone, be mad at this, aren't we asking for trouble by allowing all the people who don't want to acknowledge this to say, well, they won't even tell us what it is, so why should I trust it? I mean, it's like when you remove only Alex Jones's worst videos and not all of them, you're basically helping him be more palatable.
Yeah.
Or it's like when I remember there was an article about the show Mike and Molly, you know, the show about the obese people. That's what it is. And someone said that there was a very offensive transphobic joke, and they had an article about how offensive it was, and people need to stop watching the show. They didn't tell you what the joke was. That is unbelievably insulting.
Yeah.
To say, listen, you can't handle knowing what this is, but you have to trust me to hate them.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is one of the worst things liberals can do.
Yeah, and
is
meanwhile,
infantilize everyone.
Someone gets shot, and it's like, hey, let's show it from 15 different angles. This bullet entering his face. It's like, isn't that
Yeah.
But then-
traumatizing?
Which they don't do also. On the news, they won't show you someone getting killed, which I also disagree with.
No, I think they should. I think the news should show more people getting killed and what the after effects of that is. And that's it. That's my whole. No, but less, because then there's the other side of it where they talk about the actual serial killers or mass shooters, and then that inspires more mass shooters. They develop a hero worship. So maybe less of a focus on certain things actually does help to not perpetuate it.
Yeah, but the school shooter thing, it's like, what are we going to do? Just not acknowledge them?
They all have the same story. It's the same story over and over. They were loners. Girls didn't like them. It's not interesting.
Yeah, they're boring. It's not like anyone is like excited for them anyway. It's not like anyone out there is like, yeah, you get them. Like, I don't know.
Except for the people that become the next school shooter, because then they just want to beat their score.
Yeah.
Like, at this point, I feel like these school shooters just want to have the highest kill count, and I think that there is a valid point to not glorifying them by giving them, like, names, like, you know, like the Sandy Hook, shooter or whatever, and just kind of, like, I think it should be gunmen killed.
That's
20
sort of what they
people.
do now, right? I mean, it's mostly, I don't think, did we know the name of the last one?
The gamer guy? Yeah.
The
Yeah, I don't think we know his
David
name.
Katz.
God damn it! Now,
Yeah,
now
we
people
both
know
know.
his name.
It's all
Katz. He's got to be Jewish. Oh,
Yeah.
no. Was he Jewish? Katz.
His name is
I'm-
Katz.
with his-
I'm
Z,
good with his.
I have a hard time imagining a Jew holding a gun, but
I saw the guy's picture.
just like shooting it straight, it's not.
Yeah, I saw the guy's picture. I have no problem believing it.
Yeah.
That means the guy went to the tournament with the gun,
Yeah.
thinking, if I lose, I kill everyone.
Yeah,
Like, that's got to be an amazing thing, because it's like,
that's the heart of a champion.
wouldn't you be disappointed if he won at that point? Be
It's
like,
like,
well,
oh, damn it, I wanted to shoot people today.
Well, this is like a really dark thought, because I read that article before this, and there was a kid who survived who said, we're playing video games, we shouldn't have to worry about someone coming up behind us and shooting us, but that is exactly what a video game is.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah, but like when you go to like
Very
an event,
meta.
it's like when
Yeah.
you go to an event.
That's like being. I mean, it's also like if I go to a boxing match, I get to complain if someone punches me in the back of the head.
Yeah.
I don't get. I can have a judge be like, I mean, why were you there?
Oh, I'm not saying it was. I wasn't advocating killing video game people.
It just seems
No.
like, I mean, his gun.
Although I do want that to happen. No.
What were they wearing?
Oh, the gamers. A lot of. I'm gonna say
Probably
a lot,
hoodies and like dirty shirts.
a lot of tracksuits.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm gonna say.
Well, then, they shouldn't have worn that if they didn't want to get shot.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's bad.
Well, how did he get that gun in like that? I mean, because they're
They
saying
didn't have metal. There's no
Well,
metal
that's
detector.
why the survivor is.
He snuck it in through the duck hunter pavilion.
Right.
He's suing the venue that they held the tournament, and also suing the I guess the makers of Madden that are responsible for the tournament. Basically, because there was no security, they didn't have to go through any metal detectors. They
No
had.
one has to go through metal detectors anywhere, though.
anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't go through.
Now
the
we will,
detector
though.
Here.
I sincerely hope that John Madden gets personally sued for this. I sincerely hope that John Madden has to go into court.
It takes the stand.
And he's like, look, in 1992, they said I have to. And they're like, Mr. Madden, when you signed that paper, did you even ask if they would be like, it was. They just said, can you use your name on a game? I didn't even know they were going to make more of them.
That'd be great if there was a provision in his contract where he is personally liable if this ever happens.
Like, I just want... Just
I
to
stopped
be like,
getting paid after Madden 2K.
I would love, like, 90-year-old John Madden going to get his mail, and there's just protesters out there, like, how much blood is on your hands, Johnny? What happened?
Donkey Kong goes on TV and it's like, this man has tarnished our industry.
I have a more important thing to ask, though, and this is something I really feel strongly about. How is it possible that in 1989, Duck Hunt allowed you to take a gun and point it at your screen and shoot things based on where they were on the screen, and that was the last fucking time a video game let you do that? No, there has not been
That's
a
false.
mainstream. I'm not talking about the Wii. The Wii can go fuck itself.
Oh no, there was like a House of the Dead. I think it was Dreamcast.
But was it? But did you have a gun you could point
Yeah,
at the
there was like
screen?
a gun.
It wasn't
It
with
was
your
like-
stupid controller.
No,
Yeah.
you actually could buy like a gun, and they had one for Super Nintendo. Yoshi's like Safari had a bazooka.
So we're still talking 20 years ago.
Okay, well, yeah, 20 years. ago.
That's my problem.
Well, knowing this country and knowing how much we love the veneer of progress versus actual progress, I'm sure there was some political outcry where it's like, we have to get the toy guns out of the home versus like actual.
See that if that is real, that I don't think that happened because I feel like we would know if that was why they didn't make Duck Hunt anymore, or like those kind of games. It just seems like that was like the most fun game. You actually got to point a gun at the screen. But also, we love guns in the country. When they got rid of like realistic toy guns, at least that made sense. People were robbing convenience stores with guns they could buy at Toys R Us, and they said, okay, you have to stop making realistic.
Either a real gun or nothing. You
Right.
want to rob a store, you got to put in the work.
Yeah, no, they're like,
It's
oh,
the
no.
dishonesty.
Everyone has a right to a real gun. It's unfair to the guns. Yeah, it was actually gun manufacturers lobbying for this, saying we're losing a lot of money that people don't need to buy a gun anymore to rob a store.
Yeah, you remember those airsoft guns that were like? I mean, I don't know. I guess.
Well,
they
you can
still
still
make
get a
them.
very accurate. You can still get an accurate BB gun. You can still get a pneumatic gun that looks real. I've had those. You can't get toys though, because a child can't buy that though. A child's not supposed to buy it.
Airsoft, you could get. We were like 16 when we bought. I mean,
But yeah,
they were like pellets. It wasn't BB. It was like,
but any
between-
kid can't just walk in and buy a BB gun.
Not a BB gun, but
Isn't
back-
an airsoft gun a BB gun?
No, it's like a
pellet
it's
gun?
plastic. It was like between like a toy gun and a BB gun, so it was more sellable.
But couldn't you just put metal BBs in it?
no,
if you
it
put
got
pla-
it was like a certain.
Well, how
it had to
fast?
get
How
loaded.
fast would it shoot? Like, would it
Really-
hurt?
There was like a shotgun one, and it fucking hurt really bad. Like you pump it up, and if you got hit close, like
Oh, I know what you're talking
Plenty
about.
of people
Like-
have died from taking BBs to the eye or the chest. I mean, it can go right if it
Yeah.
just doesn't hit a bone. It can go right and hit into your heart. People die like that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they are dangerous weapons. And
BBs don't kill people. Okay, people kill people.
that's true. That's true. It's the
and
doctors who can't
Butterfinger
save them.
BBs do as well.
So Dave, what's going on with Candace Owens right now?
Oh, so I wanted to bring this up because David's here. So Candace Owens, who is one of the worst people to exist, she's a Trump supporter, and she's one of these, I think, like Ann Coulter, an anger fetishist.
Yeah.
I think that she gets a fetishistic thrill out of upsetting normal people and just saying horrible things. And she is one of the many Republicans who decided to take advantage of Molly Tibbetts' murder. Molly Tibbetts was murdered, and a undocumented immigrant has been accused of the crime. They believe that he is guilty. He's almost certainly guilty. He brought them to the body.
Yeah.
So he did it. He did it. But yeah, he's undocumented, and so a lot of people were very excited when that happened because they're like, oh, we get to use him against all other Mexicans, or excuse me, all other immigrants, all the illegal immigrants. Which, though, if you're paying attention to the Trump supporters right now, they already have their toe in the water of lumping legal immigration too. Laura Ingraham, of course, was it Laura Ingraham?
Yes.
Who came out and she said, she was like illegal and legal immigrants, and I've seen the terms and legal brought into it more because we all know that's what this is about. It's not like the Trump administration isn't also stopping legal immigration too. That's been a major thing. They're backlogging applications. They're trying to make it harder.
And they're denying passports to legal Hispanic citizens.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Like people of Mexican descent that live along the border, they're not allowing them to renew their passports or get new passports.
Yeah, they're trying. This is just a game they're playing.
Yeah.
So,
and
Candace
the strange
Owens,
thing is they're claiming that it's because they had an epidemic of like fake midwives that were like forging where people were born, and so like they're saying that like that these people were born in like Mexico, but these like midwives were faking saying that they were born across the border.
Oh, fuck you. They did the same thing to the Jews in Germany. No, fuck that.
At the end of the day, if they were given carte blanche, they would get every single Hispanic American citizen lined up, and then it would be up to them to prove they're citizens.
Yeah.
And they would then be let back in 5 a day based if they could have absolute proof. They fucking hate brown people. So Candace Owens, who, like I said, is just an unbelievable piece of shit as a human being.
Yeah.
It seems like she lives to just offend people and just be toxic and hateful. And she gets a thrill out of it. Like a serial killer sexualizes doing something wrong. I think that's what's going on here.
It's kind of like the Milo Yiannopoulos thing where there's nothing really going on intellectually.
Nothing.
They just know that if they keep talking and saying outrageous things, they get more attention. There's no talent. There's no depth of thought.
It's what Ann Coulter's been doing for 20 years.
Yeah.
So Candace Owens, like many people, was trying to use Molly Tibbetts' murder as this racist attack on all, undocumented immigrants and by extension immigrants in general, and what she specifically said was, this proves you were wrong to be upset about the hundreds of children taken away from their parents. So she was making this about the liberals who she said were hypocrites for being upset about children being taken away but not murdered. And she said, by complaining about that, you are responsible for the fact that this man was in the country, as if that even made sense.
Well, as much as I dislike her, I have to acknowledge when she has a good point. And
that one's spot on. How do you refute it?
And Molly Tibbetts' cousin, like many of her family members, said, this is wrong. Stop using our family's tragedy to push this racist agenda. And they also started pointing out something they would not have pointed out had they not done this. Molly Tibbetts considered this exact kind of politics evil and racist.
Yeah.
She was a liberal. She supported the family's been very supportive of Latino Americans, Latino people in general. And Candace Owens was such a disgusting piece of shit that she replied to that person and said and started yelling at her, the cousin, saying, how dare you talk about Donald Trump? You don't have a word to say about the illegals who are killing people like your cousin.
You know what that is? And I mean this really seriously. That really hurt Candace Owens because the core of this whole Trump thing is genuine fear and cowardice, that you use this kind of genocidal kind of rhetoric and policy to mask. It's a reaction. So when she sees somebody who goes through the very thing that she is most afraid of and be a bigger person than she really could ever be capable of, that is a core that really hurts her at her core. I believe that.
I think that is a very specific thing with Trump supporters. They have a deep hatred of anyone who can be, quote, the bigger man.
Yes.
That's why they hate John McCain.
Yeah.
They resent the idea because they need to tell themselves, I'm not capable of being this person.
Well, they just
no
want
one
to accuse
is.
everyone of
Yeah.
virtue signaling, and I don't.
It's like, no, it's just having virtue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They think being a hero or being a good person is like fake. When in some people,
Because
they're
to
just
them
good
it is.
people. Yeah.
Because they would only do this to be fake. And they don't, like, it's the way they think that the deep state is anyone in Washington who is not fiercely loyal to Donald Trump. They don't even accept the concept that there are people who just actually want to do a good job.
When you lie all the time, you can't contemplate that someone could be telling the truth.
Right.
Selflessness. What the hell are you talking about? It's
Yeah,
like-
and I unfriended someone, a fan of mine on Facebook. Never met him. Someone who friended me as a fan of my comedy, and
was her name Tiffany, and she had 3 pictures, and they were all her with her boobs coming
no,
out?
no, it's not one of the girls that you're the only mutual friend of. So this is a guy who's an actual, and he defended that. He said, "I don't understand what's wrong with that." When I showed her reaction, and Candace Owens actually yelling at this woman, saying, and I said, all I said to the person was like, "So you approve of both these tweets that Candace Owens put up?" And he said, and he acted like he was like, "Yeah, why are defending a murder by an illegal?" He's like, "Of course." And I just said the words, "I'm incredibly disappointed in you,"
And I loved that. I loved that response.
and I unfriended him. Yeah. And the fact that this is someone I've never met, this is just someone who contacted me and said, "I love your comedy. I love to, I want to be friends." And I was like, "Of course." And then this was their reaction, and I'm not going to flame the guy. I'm not going to start yelling. Because I want them to understand they're beneath my anger. I meant what I said. I am disappointed in you as a person, and I want you to know that I don't find you acceptable as a friend. And I unfriended them. And I've done that to ex-girlfriends. I've done that to a lot of people since Trump because I want them to understand this is beyond unacceptable.
John McCain has rubbed off on you, Dave. I respect
Real
it.
maverick.
No, that was Larry.
Speaking of
that was
Louis.
Larry Craig in an airport bathroom. And it's like when people say the reason that I do that. The reason I did that with a few people was because I hear people have this argument of you can't call them stupid. We want to get them back in the tent. We want to get them and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
We want to defeat them. We didn't want to get the Nazis back to be integrated. We wanted to destroy the ideology and then have them come groveling back to join real society, which they did and became one of the best countries on the planet right now. Germany is now one of the most respectable countries in terms of morality and treating people with respect.
Well, they're having
having
a far-right
immigration.
influx right now. They're going
Yeah.
through their own version of what we're going through.
They're having like riots and stuff.
Yeah.
That'll be fine.
It was a nice few years.
I'm sure
It was a good
I'm
one.
glad I got to see it before it went
their
back.
current establishment is a very respectable one.
If Merkel can hold her political coalition and we could all kind of get through this wave and what you were predicting turns out to be the case, that we get past this quickly, then hopefully.
This is about, look, we are right now at war with the past. We are at war with not just the recent past, we're at war with millions of years ago. These people want to go back to caves in terms of mentality. They want to go back to pure medieval tribalism.
Men are
Yeah.
this and women are this and we do that, and it's just black and white and easy. They want
It's
the
people.
simplicity.
It is exactly. It is all people who cannot fathom the complexity of the world and think that they can create an artificial structure to make it something that they can that's palatable for them.
They don't want to grow. Growing is hard, and they just want to.
And I empathize with all of that. The not being able to handle the complexity of the world and wanting a superficial thing. That's why I fucking go on the internet and zone out sometimes. You don't have to turn it so dark, but it's also like, as far as getting Trump voters back in, I think it's like not these Nazis are just scum and should be just like never paid any heed to. But then the so-called working class voters who voted for Obama and then Trump, I think some of those could probably vote Democratic again if it took a more socialist bent on certain issues that spoke to the working class.
Yeah, and I don't think every Trump supporter is someone
Yeah.
who sees Candace Owens screaming at the family of a murder victim that she's a hypocrite and that she has no right to dislike Trump if she's not going to agree with the racism of her party. I don't think that every Trump supporter is going to agree with that. I think a lot of them look at that and they're like, man, I think a lot of them are just really uncomfortable right now. And
But I also think they don't want to admit that they were wrong. So I think that they're just going to stay and ride the wave, because if they go and say, oh, well, I voted for Trump because of economics and immigration, and then I see Candace Owens tweet and I have to say, well, well, maybe I was wrong about these people. Maybe I am a deplorable, and they don't want to look in the mirror like that. And I think they'll also say that, well, Candace Owen is a black woman. She can't be racist. Like that. This is if she's saying that these Mexicans are killing American citizens. The liberals are just being snowflakes saying that this black woman is racist. How can she be racist?
Yeah, really.
That's why. Oh, sorry.
I was saying it brings up that same point that people keep saying only white people can be racist, which is this: the word racism has to do with power structure. But when you're not white, but you're attacking another threatened class, what do you call that? I mean, George Zimmerman was a racist. It doesn't matter that he was half Hispanic. He was a fucking racist.
Oh, yeah. And it's also like the way power gets discussed sometimes on the left, I take umbrage with, where it's like it's a predominantly white male society. I don't think anybody here would disagree with that. But to say that...
Women are 51%, David.
Also, we've had all minority precedents.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's not to say that Candace Owens, who has a lot of money, a lot of influence, her ideology is in the White House right now. She is part of the power structure.
Exactly.
She's a black woman, but and there's other ways that she may not be.
And guess what? There's no one from Antifa that was sitting with Obama.
Yeah.
They call Antifa, which I don't know if you know this, has literally 14 members now. And they act like they are the Democratic Party, whereas it's the Republicans who are the ones that are actually having the fringe crazy people in power.
Oh, yeah.
There's no one from Antifa running for Congress.
It would defeat the point of Antifa. They're like an anarchistic organization.
Yeah.
They only show up when there are fascists there, and then you can agree or disagree with their methods, but they're not just like around.
This lie they've created about Antifa, that somehow this phantom organization that you just heard about makes everything Nazis do okay.
Yeah.
And I saw people people who hate being called Nazis say, well, you're a piece of shit if you marched against those Nazis in Charlottesville because that makes you Antifa. And I had someone say, so if I was your son, and I said, Nazis are coming, I'm going to protest them, you would be on the Nazi side. And there's by the way, this wasn't a Republican. This was an openly white supremacist march in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
That they were then saying, and by the way, if you actually look at what happened, what the reports were of everyone who was there saying, it was saying, Antifa was going around stopping Nazis from killing people.
Yeah.
They were trying to protect
Batman.
Antifa goes back to the 30s with the emergence of the Nazi Party and especially fascism in Britain. Antifa popped up to try to get rid of those guys
because there were people who were trying to use physical violence as a political tool.
Yeah,
right.
You have to use violence back.
Yes, exactly. And also, Antifa's just going to make things worse. When's the last time you heard about Richard Spencer? When's the last time you heard about Mao wasn't taken down by Antifa, but all these guys?
Because he's a kitty toucher.
Yeah, and
Whoa! Milo is not a child toucher. He is someone who advocates child touching.
Big difference.
If I had a bunch of videos saying that a man should be allowed to have sex with a horse, would you just assume I've had sex with horses too? Can I just be in favor of freedom?
It's like Joe Paterno and Jerry Sandusky. Someone's just kind of waving him on through.
I feel like that's worse being the advocate, though, because there's always that level of, oh, man, these guys are monsters, but they have no control over themselves, where he's, like, got an ideology of pedophilia.
Right.
Like, he's in favor of it.
Well, did he say, was he molested? Oh, no, that was the Dutch guy. That was the Dutch pedophile politician. That was a famous Dutch politician who advocated pedophilia because he was molested and he said he liked it, which means everyone should, I guess.
Oh, God.
That was a famous...
Did you see Spotlight?
No.
Yes.
There's a scene in Spotlight where a reporter knocks on a pre-store, and I'm assuming that this is true because it's so absurd that if you made it up for the movie, it would discredit the entire movie, where the reporter knocks on the pre-store and she's like, hey, have you ever, like, touched a kid? And the priest goes, oh, yeah, many times. We do oral sex, and it happened to me as a kid. I was molested, so I know what that's like. But everybody liked it. And he just, like, and then his sister came to the door. It's like, stop talking to her.
That's fine. It probably
Yeah.
was true. If he was like mentally ill, he just didn't know he had to.
He
keep it
forgot
quiet.
to call his lawyer. Just like, oh, go, I got this one.
Because that,
You-
because that, I mean, there's in psychology, there's two kinds of there's pathological or neurotic disorders. Pathological ones are chemical; they're in your brain, and neurotic disorders are ones based on like the experiences you've had. And that could be a neurotic one. That
Yeah.
could be just that, like that's how his brain broke.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
like as he was doing these horrible things, he had to convince himself that there was nothing wrong with this because of the cycle. And so, of course, if someone asks him, he's going to be the first one. It's kind of like how Trump keeps just openly talking about obstructing justice because he thinks that's going to make him like get off
It's
the
going to
hook.
make it look legal.
But he's like, well, why would I be saying it like this if it was a crime? What do we got?
You're like while we're talking about Trump. So now, what is Trump trying to do with Canada right now in this trade deal?
Trump got caught being off the record with Bloomberg, where he said that he was purposely making the Canadian trade agreements, trade negotiations impossibly humiliating for Canada so that they cannot say yes, and that way he could humiliate them by saying we could not come to a deal. Canada had already said they believed this was happening. They could just tell. And then Trump says like how he says the incredibly dishonest media, they said off the record. Well, you just acknowledge that they're telling the truth, so you can't really call them dishonest in that. And it's Bloomberg. It's not exactly a liberal news organization. Here's a question. Why are you such an incompetent president that you told the reporter, hey, listen, this is really important. Nobody knows this. You got to keep double secret, but I just need to let you know how great I am. I'm going to... And yeah, so because he hates Justin Trudeau... He needs to have an enemy. He needs to lash out at someone. He made it impossible for there to be a trade
Well,
deal
that's
with
what
Canada.
fake tough guys always do, right? He doesn't take on actual malefactors in the world. He lashes out at the people closest to him who he knows will have the least likelihood of retaliating.
Yeah, it's like a guy who screams at his mom.
Exactly.
Like a tough guy.
Or picks on
Yeah.
the smallest kid at the school. It's like, really? That kid's the one you're going to punch in the face? Come on.
I
Yeah.
think he just hates Trudeau because Trudeau is young and attractive, and that Ivanka makes doe eyes at him. I think that is basically he's just being like a jealous bitch.
He probably
I
does,
think-
but he would hate him for many other reasons.
But I think
Yeah.
when Trump looks in the mirror, he sees Trudeau. Like, I don't think he thinks of himself as like, oh, I'm this old pudgy guy. I think he really think he's that.
That's true.
Yeah.
He probably does.
He sees him as a boy and him as like a man. Big old man, a woman wants this. It's like, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. He definitely looks at Trudeau, and whatever he sees, he finds a way that he's the more attractive. But yeah, I mean, he hates Canada just because Canada has maintained the respect of the world. And he's like Kevin Spacey in House of Cards. He would rather tear everyone down than build himself up. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm going to be better simply by making everyone worse, which of course is exactly what Vladimir Putin's been doing for 20 years.
Yeah.
Vladimir Putin has the most depressing foreign policy secret ever. He just wants everything to be shitty everywhere so that Russia is not as shitty by comparison. That's why he props up these idiot right-wing ideologues all over, these morons, these populist right-wing radio assholes. He just wants them to be president everywhere just because it just makes the whole world shittier. That's it. That's his whole plan. That is so he just wants Berlusconi's and all these just morons just because they're like, that nothing is going to make Russia that great. But if we make everywhere else a 6,
Yeah.
suddenly it's not so bad having a country that's a 5.
So he wants the world to be his fat friend that he looks hotter by comparison with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
he's,
even
he's Hansel and Greteling. That and you.
there's even a long-term plan here that I think might be what's going on, because if he's really looking long-term, which if Russians are good at one thing, it's patience. I mean, they're
Don't forget hockey. Come on.
yeah, they do love their chess. They love to take a long game. Is it possible that so Vladimir Putin props up right-wing leaders all around these countries, but Putin also wants to invade countries and not be in danger, and usually it's the right-wing countries that would be more angry at that, would be more traditionally right-wing would be the ones to stop them from invading
They're more
Crimea.
hawkish.
If this was Reagan era,
Yeah.
you would say, who do you think is going to be involved when Russia invades a country, the Democrats or the Republicans? And these plans do go back that far. What if he's just trying to make the concept of conservatives ruined. He's just trying to prop up all these idiot right-wing ideologues because he thinks the end result of this will be a substantially more liberal world where Russia is in less danger of militaristic countries.
I mean, that's an interesting theory.
Well, yeah.
I don't.
I think that's what a lot of right wing people here fear. I think that's what they're like. Well, we're all going to become a bunch of pussies, and the Russians and Koreans going to take over. Like,
And it doesn't it seem like Donald Trump in the long term, if you were really smart and looking at this before you did any of this, and you were like, what if I got the most corrupt, crazy idiot president? Wouldn't you think the end result of that would be the rejection of the Republican Party, the rejection of conservatism, and a world that would end up being a lot less willing to go to war?
I will push back on a couple things. I mean, Jimmy Carter pushed back on Russia when they invaded Afghanistan. We never really got into a any kind of military imbroglio with Russia because we knew we couldn't due to mutually assured destruction. I think both parties have been equally anti-Russia for a long time. I think that has a lot more to do with what Putin is doing, because he's not just putting up the Republican Party, he's putting up a very specific people who he knows are loyal and financially dedicated to him. What's interesting about Trump and the way he maneuvers is I see Trump as a guy who is fundamentally incapable of thinking in terms of systems. He sees the world interpersonally. So you look at like this trade deal with Mexico and Canada, and like NAFTA did fuck over a lot of working people in this country. It was not a trade deal made with the working class in mind. Now, the proponents of it would argue with me on that. That's my opinion.
But the thing is, Mexican people would say
Yes.
that it destroyed them for America.
Yes, because it took away their farming and it took away our manufacturing. And
Someone benefited from it.
well, yeah, I mean, the very rich benefited from it. They benefit from everything. And so, but in Trump's head, so he sees that a lot of people are angry at this trade deal, but he can't see it as like, oh, so this is a very bad, due to class shenanigans deal for workers. What he sees is Mexico fucked us and Canada fucked us, so we're gonna fuck them. Where that's not how these things actually go down in the real world.
If you
Right.
really want to know how stupid Donald Trump is, a perfect example of that, and not just stupid, but why he's a kind of stupid that a lot of people are simply unable to understand. He gave a speech years ago where he said, I would put tariffs on China. He goes, here's what I would do. He was telling people, he was like, the problem is I would put a 25% tariff on China.
Yeah.
The problem, it's all about tone. He goes, if I go in there and I say, hey, listen, we have to put this tariff on China and this is what we're going to do, they wouldn't accept it. But if I walked in there and said, listen, you motherfuckers,
Yeah.
we're putting a 25% tax and that's how it's going to be. Anyone who hears that and thinks, this guy knows what he's talking about,
Yeah.
is brain dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
You have to be dumb as
Don't
a
talk about my
fucking
friends that
brick
way.
to think that that's how real negotiation
That's
works.
his mom.
yeah.
That's
Dave.
how
Oh, my family, dude.
that is how the dumbest people alive think.
Yeah.
Negotiation works.
Yeah, and it shrinks the world so it can fit in your head.
Yes.
It's complete. So in terms of like, I never in my life think we'll see an end to conservatism or right-wing government. I think, if anything, it has more of its shit together than left-wing parties across the world. But I think with like why Putin wants to put these people in is that he kind of is playing a different game now where, all right, so the U.S. has all the advantages in terms of world stature, the ability to impose sanctions, so he just has to subvert that through kind of like interpersonal, well, I'm just going to start fucking with their systems so that it's so destabilized that they're not going to be able to hurt me as badly.
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to promote liberalism around the world so much as I think he's trying to install oligarchs around the world that they can kind of manipulate with each other through money. I just think that basically
which is a smaller game, a smaller, pettier game,
right? And so that's why if he's going to put someone, if he's going to install a president in the United States, it's going to be someone that he can manipulate their debt, that he can very easily put them on the barrel, because he couldn't do that to someone that had nothing and nothing to lose. He has to do it to someone that literally needs his money. And then it's the same thing with if you're looking at China is supposed to be communist, but it's really socialist with oligarchs also. Most of the ruling class in China are they're billionaires, and then the rest of the country is either lower middle class or completely starving.
China figured out that things get done when you have 8 rich people and then 1 billion poor people who would just work.
And so I think that is
Queen
basically
bee, worker bee mentality. I guess.
Yeah, I think that is the real thing that he's trying to. It's when you talk about Berlusconi or whatever, anyone that he is in favor of is just an oligarch. And I just think that he feels like if he puts in enough people around the globe that are indebted to him in some fashion, then he is able to, de facto, just be ruler of the world.
He can't win by the rules.
It's it's like Hunger Games. It's if you go there, you can try and fight by yourself, but you're going to lose. But if you find the 2 most powerful people and you're hey, let's the 3 of us fuck everyone else up, and then we'll deal with our shit when we got to deal with it. But inevitably, though, you're dealing with another problem of, now you turn the gun to each other.
Also, there isn't enough focus in the media about what was going on in Russia during the Obama administration. I mean, he invades the Ukraine, and then he gets kicked out of the G8, I believe is the G7. And then not only that, but then, and I remember this happening, gas dropped, the price of oil dropped. We went back to late 1990s rates for a tank. And then Russia's economy cratered because it's a mostly oil exporting economy, and really bad. People were waiting to buy things until after the economy dropped, or they were trying to buy things before it because there wasn't going to be supplies of things anymore. And then prices for everything failed and businesses went under. So they hit a real. So a lot of that stuff I think is kind of
their
rooted.
mortality rate is insane there as well. They're dying in their 40s.
Yeah, they're just it's not a great country, and there's nothing redeemable about the way Trump grovels to them. They have nothing over us.
Yeah,
they have something on him. Exactly. They don't. He acts well, if we're not nice to Russia, they'll kill us all. When did the Republicans become these fucking pussies?
And it's
just begging for this guy to not hurt us.
It's so true. It was just the point of I forgot what point I was trying to make.
But here's the thing: we know that Russia gives tons of money to the NRA.
Yeah.
You can't buy a gun in Russia, but they care a lot about Americans' right to have guns. So we know why that is, right?
They want us all to be dumb and kill each other.
Yeah, they want destabilized America.
Yeah.
And they're recognizing that you destabilize America by having people like Trump and Arpaio and the NRA. So they're recognizing that it's bad for us to have that mentality, right?
I mean, I see what you're getting at, but I feel like that goes par and parcel with the Republican Party long term. I think that the party on its own, without Russia and without Trump, has been doing a lot to really fuck up this country for a long time.
Yeah.
And then all they're really doing is manipulating the structures that they built. All Russia had to do was say, Fox News lies all the time, and it brainwashes half the country. What if we started lying using the same tools, and it's and to those same people?
They did a poll, and they actually found out people that watch Fox News on a regular basis know less facts about current events than people that don't read the news at all.
Yeah, because word of mouth is more accurate than Fox News.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know if Mike Pence said the only news you should believe is word of mouth. There is nothing that says a man knows he's lying like that. Nothing. Mike Pence is so bad at this. He's so bad at making his lies seem believable because it's we know you don't believe that.
Well, that's just
word of mouth. What does that even mean? Where would they get it?
Yeah.
Who told that person?
You have to learn it from somewhere.
It's like that fucking monster Elon Musk who said who suddenly became this supervillain and was like, I figured out how to stop fake news. People vote on which news is real. How the fuck do they know?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Congratulations, Elon. Autism is caused by vaccines now. Congratulations. Evolution's not real. Black people have a certain smell because you just made it so that every fucking idiot can vote on the most horrible things ever and just make them real.
Yeah.
We smell like heaven.
Those were all facts, by the way. I want to make sure we're all.
Like, those are all things that if you let the average American decide if it was true or not, suddenly would be in fucking school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Elon Musk comes from that Silicon Valley world of these like loner geniuses who like never fitted socially, but they were good at coding. So now they think they know how the entire world works.
No, Elon Musk comes from the third moon outside Proxima Centauri.
I do love that he makes an electric car and is also evil. I just think that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I've been on that goddamn list for a year and a half, and they can go fuck themselves.
My brother just got one. Big news.
How?
He waited for a year and a half. I don't know.
Yeah, but that's not that. No, he didn't. They have not. They have not given anyone the promised $35,000 lower model yet. Did he pay more?
I have no idea what he. I was told he got a Tesla.
I was told
from my
that.
mom.
I was told
Is it
that.
fake news? Who knows?
I was told.
Let's vote on it.
I was told that.
Wisdom of the crowd.
I was told that Tesla has not released any of the actual originally promised low end prices.
Maybe that's just what they
you
said
have
to
to
you.
either spend $50,000 to get to get the much more expensive version with nothing good added, or you have to buy like the $70,000 one, or you have to be an employee of. If he got it now, because I've been on that list since May of 2017.
But dude, why would you want that car? Because like if it breaks down and shit, they make it impossible for you to get new parts and like repair it. Like they're really dicks to you at that company.
Yeah, no, I don't want it now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna settle for a goddamn i3 if I have to. A used i3. You ever see an i3? Looks like a Tonka car. But I need to have some. I can't go back to full gas.
You want that Tesla? Don't kid yourself.
Well, I didn't love the Tesla, but I was like, all right, cool. It's a good price, and you get a big government subsidy, and they just ruined it all. No one's gonna get the subsidy now because they're gonna push back when everyone gets it until after the subsidy's already expired. It's a $7,500 federal subsidy that they're now throwing away. Wow. These people can go fuck themselves. Elon Musk, and then calls a guy a pedophile because he pointed out that your stupid submarine wouldn't work, you egomaniac piece of shit. And now did you hear Elon Musk has been contacting the CEOs of corporations when he finds out that someone tweeted something negatively about them? He finds out their job, he goes to the Twitter, finds out their job, and then calls someone to fire them. He is a piece of shit.
This guy's mentally ill. I spoke to somebody whose son works as a parts manager in a Tesla dealership. And I'm like, oh, cool. That's a good job. And she goes, yeah. He was so shocked when the Elon Musk called him up and offered it to him himself. Any CEO who's talking to the parts manager of a specific dealer, that guy's insane.
Yeah,
like he's a micromanager. He's nuts.
That's mentally ill.
I read an article about how miserable his life was. He was like, I'm so stressed out. And it's like, dude, just stop.
You're a billionaire.
Yeah.
You're a billionaire.
You have the power to not make your life suck if you just stop being such an asshole who needs the ego to be fed.
He's got Azealia Banks in his house for some reason. The guy's living in hell. He is living in hell. Azealia Banks was in his house for a week tweeting about it because she was supposed to do a song with Grimes and was like tweeting about and Azealia Banks is also like the most famously mentally ill person in music, and she's in Elon Musk's house. He's saying she's not there. She's posting fucking photos from the inside of it, being like he wouldn't even he like walks around not making eye contact with me. No one tells me why I'm here or why I've been waiting for a week to do this song.
So that's how everything works in his life. You have to wait for the $35,000 Tesla. She has to wait for the girl for Grimes. It's just anything around him. There's a long waiting list.
No, I've heard that he actually sleeps in his office though. That he doesn't even really he goes to his house when on weekends, but he literally lives in his office.
And all his businesses suck. I always like to point this out. None of his businesses are profitable. I mean, PayPal made him a lot of money. Tesla doesn't make money. SpaceX doesn't make money. Solar City or whatever the fuck doesn't make money. Maybe the flamethrower thing is making money.
Nobody wants to use PayPal now. You tell people you want to use PayPal, they look at you like you just put money in an envelope and threw it in the ocean.
It's like offering someone a greenback.
And by the way, he does not sleep in his office. That's just what he tells his wife to explain why he doesn't sleep at home.
Yeah.
And he tells everyone in the office he sleeps at home. If the man doesn't sleep, he's not a human being.
There was an article I read about like other Elon Musk-esque figures, and this is just like a story that always sticks with me. And I think it's a very similar personality type, where they were arguing over whether or not there should be public school, and all these libertarian computer nerds were like, "No, absolutely not." And the writer's like, "Why?" And then one of them goes, "They told me I was a bad writer growing up, but look at me now." And the writing he does now is Harry Potter fan fiction online. But he thinks that the public education stifled him from his bullshit fan. You know what I mean? They're all crazy people.
We have an ego problem.
Yeah,
We have a major ego problem in this country. I've even heard people theorize that it's because of all the antidepressants in the water supply. Because chemically, it gets filtered in the water supply, and we're just all drinking this cocktail of psychoactive drugs, which sounds crazy. It's not that crazy. I mean, people thought it was crazy that people said that leaded gasoline was making everyone stupider, and it was.
Yeah.
Leaded gasoline had a long-term horrible effect on a lot of people. It's why we had that spike in crime, they say, in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's our own stupid fucking egos. It's our own doing.
Well, ever since I switched to drinking unleaded gasoline, I've been a lot better.
So, Dave, now, what are your thoughts on Trump freezing federal workers' pay, considering that the economy is so great now? It's the best.
You know that I hate Trump, but I also think that all civil service employees have had it too good for too long. I am tired of having the boot of the meter maid on my neck. I am tired of walking to a restaurant and all the tables have been given to mailmen.
They're eating their lobster tails.
I am sick and tired. I am sick and tired of being stuck in traffic while some garbage man in a Ferrari gets to just go right past me and run that red light because he can afford the ticket. The thing is, Trump fans hate it when you bring up how good the economy is because it contradicts everything else they say.
Yeah.
We have to. Why are we having to prime the pump when the economy's good? That's what causes overheating and ruins everything. Why are we having to fuck over all our trade? How are our trade partners fucking us when we have the best economy ever?
Yeah.
And the reason we have to make those cuts, of course, is because Trump just added trillions of dollars to the deficit by wanting to cut taxes and then spend a lot of money because he doesn't care. He won't be here when we have to pay for it.
Nor does the Republican Party as a whole, though. Like that tax bill, any Republican president would have passed.
You know what's amazing about this is, here's the thing. Stopping people from getting pay raises is worse than firing them. It is. Because when you fire someone, what you're saying is, well, we can afford to have this many employees. When you just cancel pay raises, you're saying, well, I want to squeeze these people.
Yeah.
So when Obama fired a bunch of federal employees, it was specifically as a cost-cutting measure. It was about waste. It was about saying, and then I remember Republicans, and this was like one of the saddest lies I saw them make about Obama when they would talk about Obama's economy. Like, yeah, but what about all the government jobs he lost? I'm like, you're Republicans.
Yeah.
You're supposed to celebrate every time we cut waste. Less government, less Big Brother. But that's very different than just telling those same employees you need to simply learn to live with less.
Well, it's just like it eliminate.
That's not about waste.
Yeah, no, that's just like makes working life hell.
It's just
there's
callousness.
No future. There's no appreciation for the time you put in. You're just like.
It's just cruelty.
And as you said before, like that's their one stance now is the economy. Like he's the best. How can you deny this guy? It's like if that's your argument, and then he can't take care of his own people, how good is the fucking economy?
And it was only a 2% increase. It wasn't even like a 5% increase.
It was an increase that those people had been promised, had been expecting, had been relying on.
And he just cut taxes for millionaires and corporations.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
because he hates poor people. He doesn't respect anyone, but he's an authoritarian. He only respects people who have as much money as him. But you know what? We can't have a country where people are only respected if they have $6 million or more dollars. Because that's how much money Trump has.
6 million was a very convenient number for you, but
he's a billionaire.
But in that case, it's a real number. In the case of Trump's assets, it actually is 6 million. Not like all the other lies about 6 million, whatever.
But this is a policy I think any Republican president would have done. Like, I doubt Trump knows he's doing this. You know, it was probably something Mike Pence just authorized.
You know what though? You can't do that while bragging about the great economy.
Oh yeah, totally.
You can't do that while saying that we have the money to give back billions to rich people, but we don't have enough money to have the expected pay raises.
Yeah.
And look, Obama did it too, but I literally saw something like, well, Obama did it too. Yeah. What year did Obama say we couldn't afford those pay raises?
Yeah.
Was it 2009? You fucking asshole! He inherited the best economy imaginable from Obama.
Yeah.
Obama inherited the worst economy imaginable, and these people would start a fire in their own house to not have to acknowledge that point when they talk about the economy.
Yeah.
They just came up. There was a Fox News article about the economic recovery. They're calling it the Trump recovery.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Trump recovery. As in, the economy was really, really bad.
But that is something the Democrats should be better about, or Obama should have been, is the messaging of it. As stupid as Trump is, just posting it all caps, greatest economy in the world of all time, like that sends the message out. Like, I think most people didn't really get what was going on during the Obama years.
Well, I think Obama was under the impression that people had not devolved to the point that they were dumb enough to fall for this. And no one knew how dumb everyone was. Now and only after Trump are we all like, oh my God, we could have actually elected a real Hitler. It's thank God this guy's so stupid.
Yeah.
Because these people are ready to accept anyone.
Yeah. I mean, that is the kind of the scary point, is that as bad as he is, like, if he was actually intelligent and is like, you know, maniacal at the same time, like, what, like, we already have children in cages right now. Like, what would happen?
It's like more Putin. Like, I feel like he's more of that balance, and that's why he's scarier to me than someone like him, where this guy's sitting back watching these guys do this, and he's got a bigger plan, I feel like.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Putin exists because Russia has simply become a culture that worships power. And what I've said to people is I think the biggest problem I have with all Americans, but liberals especially, they really seem to believe that the world is just going to bounce, that everything, no matter what anyone does, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Everything's just going to be fine. And the future, like even like, you know, people that we know, I guess we had Tim Warner, he talks about people hating Trump. And he says, like, oh, you don't have to pay attention. And it's like, for someone who's like such a liberal anarchist, that's a really weird attitude, because this is not superficial. People are dying.
Yeah.
People are having their children taken away. Kids are getting raped in detention centers. And the long-term effects haven't even begun to really kick in.
Yeah, but I also think it's important not to think history began in 2016 and Trump is the first mean man to be a president. Like, there's a lot of stuff this country's guilty of for a long time. If anything, he's a part of a larger mosaic.
Have you seen that Vietnam documentary by Ken Burns? Oh, it's unbelievable. But it's basically it's the same thing happening in the 60s.
Yeah.
It was presidents lying and doing their own self-image and worrying about that and killing people to save themselves. It's the same thing.
So we're going to have to wrap it up. But before we go, just tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, what projects you have going on, shows you have coming up. I'll start with you, Dave.
Oh, me. You can see me at Dave Cyrus. That's spelled S like virus, S-I-R-U-S. I have some dates coming up that'll probably have already happened by the time this episode comes out. So give yourselves a week, everybody. But I am going to be in Syracuse at Funkin' Waffles on September 30th. I'll be at Gotham on September 27th. Empire Casino, September 26th. And Philly Comedy Club, September 14th.
David.
All right, David, you can follow me on Twitter at Spector DeForce, Spector like my last name, and then DeForce. And I've got a show coming up at Sing Sing on September 14th. Bad News, come out, check it out.
You can find me, it's jeremypinsley.com. There's no E in Pinsley, P-I-N-S-L-Y. At JerBearPinsley on all my social media. I'll be at the New York Comedy Club next Tuesday, so whatever date that is that the 10th, 11th, 12th, whatever it is. And then I'm headlining at the Relapse Theater in Atlanta at the end of the month. And that's check them out.
Oh, and I'm judging the next Roast Battle New York Comedy Club Thursday.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Nice.
And doing a spot.
Nice.
Beauty.
You can follow me on Twitter at Marissa Smith. You can follow this show on Twitter at The Blame Storm. Also, check out my other podcast, Big Talkin' Brewskis. You can follow that on Twitter at Big Talkin' Brew. And I will be at Broadway Comedy Club on the 14th at 10 o'clock for Fashionably Funny. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.